Okay, my journey with the Neem Rana Music Foundation started when I was 16. And I was with a choir called the Capital City Minstrels. I was a singer in the choir. And the Neem Rana Music Foundation came to India with a French opera called the Fakir of Benares. And it was this choir, the Capital City Minstrels, that was chosen to sing as the chorus group in this opera. And so my journey actually with the Neem Rana Music Foundation started at the age of 16, where I was a part of this choir in this opera called the Fakir of Benares. So the first thing that I'd like to say is that I received a scholarship for singing opera as well as conducting choirs. And the scholarship was granted to me by Mr. Francis Waxiak, and it has been an experience that I cannot even explain in words, put to words, because it's been so enriching. The difference between the music that we are trained in India and the music that we're trained in Europe and abroad is, there's a vast difference. And so I got to learn a lot of things like the history of music, the solfège, and different aspects of music that is not necessarily taught to us here. I've been able to learn that, and the experience in that sense has been extremely enriching, because there's a lot that we miss in India at this moment in the Western classical music field that we could develop. And so my experience in terms of acting, learning how to act, learning how to speak different languages, learning different languages, on a whole, it's been an experience that is out of the world, really. So visually challenged children cannot necessarily see a choir conductor, they can't see the choir conductor conducting in front of them. So it's all verbal. The instructions that we have to give is verbal. The expressions, even when we are saying how we want them to sing, we have to make like images. We have to make them understand through their imagination of what kind of sound quality we want, what kind of projection of the voice we want. Whereas for children who can see, or people who aren't impaired in any way, can just see us. We can just express ourselves through an action, and they can just imitate us. Whereas a visually challenged person cannot do that at all. We have to explain everything about what happens in the Western world, because these children are underprivileged. They don't know, or they're not exposed necessarily by television, and they don't see through the television. We take them to a lot of concerts, probably that are hosted by the Neem Rana Music Foundation, that are hosted by other organizations. They're taken to concerts so that they can understand the Western musical music, because for them, their music is only like Bollywood music or Hindi classical songs. But this is how we basically train them, is by taking them to concerts and explaining that to them what they should expect from Western classical music. This workshop, it's been I think an incredible experience. Thanks to the European Union, I've got this opportunity to come here and participate in this workshop, and I've got to work with an adult choir as well as these children. This would be the first time I've performed or I've taught visually impaired children, so it was definitely a challenge for me, and it wasn't an easy one, but it was very, very I think for me it was very helpful as a musician to learn how to breach the barriers of music and teach underprivileged children as well as visually impaired children. How it pushed me as a musician to figure out how I could make the music, speak the musical language to them. And for the adults, it's definitely been easier, a lot easier. So in my initial years of training, I would say for opera specifically, since I play the piano as well, for opera, Mr. Francis Wawxiaq was the biggest influence in my life. It is through him that I came to know opera. It is through him that I got the opportunity to start learning opera, to meet people in India who teach opera, and then it is through him again that I was sent abroad to study opera. So he has been my biggest mentor in my career to help me grow as an opera musician, like a singer completely. Well, I like to watch a lot of movies. I like to go to a lot of operas. This is my free time, but I still go and watch operas. I love adventure, so I like traveling a lot.